Hey, this is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. Back when I was a kid, we watched TV, and there was a commercial that would come on sometimes when we were watching. It was a campaign to kind of keep the forests and the parks and the roadsides and everything clean and not have all this pollution because it used to be, well, it still happens today, but people drive down the road and want to get rid of their trash, they just throw it out the window. And so this big campaign was on television and everything, commercials and so forth. And it had, I think it was Hootie the owl, but it was an owl. And it said, "Give a hoot, don't pollute." Okay, and that was the thing. And so that stuck with you forever. Oh, give a hoot, don't pollute. And you'd be with someone and they'd throw their trash outside the window of the car. And you'd yell at them, "Hey, give a hoot, don't pollute." And so that was a thing. And you know what? It kind of got cleaned up. I guess people were more responsive and thought, I'm not going to trash up the world that we live in. And you can go around, like you go around in certain countries, like the United States, you're amazed at how clean a lot of areas are. And you don't think about it till you go to some foreign country where they don't have the same standards, and they just like throw the trash out the windows. They're driving and they don't have regular garbage pickup, so that they're just trying to there's been times I've been running in Guatemala and I look over this nice hillside and I'm like, oh, what nice scenery as I'm running along there. And then I look down and see it's being used as a trash dump. People just go alongside the road, and it's like, oh, let me just throw my trash out into this large ditch. And that's what's happening. I bring all that up to say, God says in this last section of chapter 35 here, he says what's going to pollute the land. And well, let's read this. And this is taken from Numbers 35, and this is verses 29 to 34. It says this, this is to have the force of the law for you throughout the generations to come, wherever you live. Now, I'm going to stop here one verse in, but we're dealing with the cities of refuge. And then during that teaching with the cities of refuge, it also covers what's murder and what's not murder. If you do something intentionally, it's murder. If it was an accident, it's not murder. And so those are all things that played into these cities of refuge and having a fair trial. But we conclude the chapter with what's going to pollute the land, and which is murder. Verse 30, anyone who kills a person is to be put to death as a murderer, only on the testimony of witnesses. But no one is to be put to death on the testimony of only one witness. You had to have two witnesses in order to convict someone of murder. Okay, it can't be just someone random guy coming up and said, "Yeah, he did this. He killed this person, and I saw him do it." It has to be more than one witness. All right, and you know what? This plays out all the way. We go forward all the way to the trial of Jesus, and they were trying to convict him of different things, but they didn't have the trial was a sham, really, because they could not get any witnesses to agree. They had a whole bunch of witnesses, but the witnesses couldn't get their story straight that they made up. And so the witnesses couldn't agree. And so Jesus should not have been convicted of death because you didn't have two witnesses agreeing on the crime there. So anyway, the law here given is before you convict anyone of death, you have to have two witnesses. Verse 31, do not accept a ransom for the life of a murderer who deserves to die. They are to be put to death. Do not accept a ransom for anyone who has fled to a city of refuge, and so allow them to go back and live on their own land before the death of the high priest. So it didn't matter if you were rich or poor. If you murdered someone, you needed to die. You couldn't pay a fee and go, oh yeah, you know what, I'll give you $5,000 if you let me go. Nope, it was death for you. Verse 33, do not pollute the land where you are. Bloodshed pollutes the land. Let me reread that in case you missed it. Do not pollute the land where you are. Bloodshed pollutes the land. An atonement cannot be made for the land on which blood has been shed, except by the blood of the one who shed it. Do not defile the land where you live and where I dwell, for I, the Lord, dwell among the Israelites. Okay? So let me talk about this. Do not pollute the land where you are. Bloodshed pollutes the land. Okay? When you move into a region and there's a lot of murder happening there, is that someplace you want to stay? No, because you've polluted the land just by as that crime happens and it's allowed to get away with that. That crime continues to grow, and it just turns into a free for all of crime happening there, and it pollutes the land because you've let this happen, and now all these crimes just continue to grow. All right. It's happening in our country. Well, it happens, of course, with abortion, that we've just allowed free willy-nilly for abortion to happen. And so, yeah, there's a lot of pollution in our land. But then now we're at the point, too, it starts with the abortion, we don't consider life sacred anymore. And then now we have, when someone does commit a crime, and it might be a murder or something else, we're not convicting that person of the crime, and we're not sentencing that person to a punishment that fits the crime. And so what happens is that the crime just continues on, okay? And so that is the pollution. And verse 33 sums it all up. Do not pollute the land where you are. Bloodshed pollutes the land, all right? And you allow that to continue on, your land will be polluted, and I encourage you, give a hoot, don't pollute. Thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we conclude the book of Numbers with one last episode on the last chapter of Numbers. Lord's blessing. I'll see you tomorrow.